Representatives of candidates, political parties, and party lists are here to beat the Wednesday deadline to file their statements of contributions and expenditures or SOSE. All who came here just before 5 in the afternoon will be accommodated within the day. Now, President-elect Bongbong Marcos and Vice President-elect Sara Duterte have filed their SOSEs on Tuesday, paving the way for both of them to assume office by the noontime of June 30th. Marcos spent 623.23 million pesos for the campaign. Duterte spent one-third of that amount at 216 million pesos. The spending limit is at 674 million for each of them. The Uniteam bets say the bulk of the funds came from cash and other donations from the respective political parties, Partido Federal for Marcos and Lakas CMD for Duterte. Both Marcos and Duterte say they did not spend a single peso from their personal funds for the campaign, which resulted in a landslide victory. On the other hand, Senator Manny Pacquiao, who finished third in the race, funded most of his campaign out of pocket. He said half of the 119 million pesos he declared to have spent during the February to May campaign came from personal funds. Other presidential contenders like Vice President Leni Robredo, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, and Senator Ping Lacson have filed their SOSEs, but they were not released to media. Vice Presidential Bet Senator Kiko Pangalinan's staff also filed a report Wednesday declaring a campaign worth 130 million. Of this, 21 million pesos came from his own pocket. Most of the winning senators as well as most party list groups have so far completed the process. COMELEC is strict with supporting documents showing who donated cash or goods and where these were spent down to every receipt. Actually, some had to make multiple trips here just to comply with the requirements. All candidates are required to submit the SOSE before assuming office, even those who lost in the race. Late filers face a fine between 6,000 to 10,000 pesos, and those who fail to file expense reports in 2 elections will be perpetually banned from public office. Back to you, Maya.
Melissa, you mentioned the SOSE is required for elected officers. Now, what happens if winning candidates did not file their SOSE by today?
That's right. So if they do not file anytime between now and June 30, they cannot assume office. However, they will be given a chance. They have until mid-November, or that's 6 months since they were proclaimed, to submit their SOSE, but of course with a corresponding penalty. And if they don't, and if they still are unable to comply by then, their posts will actually be declared vacant. Mai?
Thanks, Melissa Lopez there reporting. President-elect Bongbong Marcos will attend the face-to-face Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation or APEC Summit in Thailand on November 18 to 19. This is the first time the summit will be held in person after it was canceled in 2020 and 2021 because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The summit's main purpose is to promote sustainable economic growth, trade and investment, and prosperity in the Asia-Pacific region. This year's edition will focus on the importance of resuming safe and convenient cross-border travel. The organizers believe that it will hasten the region's speedy economic recovery from the crisis brought by the pandemic. The Thai government sent its invitation during the courtesy call of ASEAN ambassadors to Marcos last Monday. Incoming cabinet officials already buckling down to work less than a month before assuming office. In a Facebook post, incoming Migrant Workers Secretary Susan Oples says she met with the next Information and Technology Chief, Ivan Uy. Oples says they discussed, quote, possible digital solutions to cut red tape, to be competitive overseas, and to ease the burden on overseas Filipino workers, to which Uy said were, quote, doable. While the appointee for the Health Department has yet to be named, outgoing Secretary Francisco Duque says there are already candidates for the post. He says they are all qualified and have a proven track record in public service.
I have been hearing names, no,
Yes.
of potential Secretary of Health. They're all good. I know all of them. I think they're all qualified. They've had quite a track record of public service. But I will not tell you or disclose to you who they are. DOH is very much ready to present the transition plan.
Duque says he will go back to Dagupan City after his term to teach in their family-owned Lyceum Northwestern University. But in case he gets charged over the procurement of pandemic supplies from the controversial Pharmaly Pharmaceuticals Corporation, Duque has this to say.
I always have good lawyers and many advisors, well-meaning advisors who know the travails, no, that I have to go through while helping and leading the country in this historic pandemic. Yung mga tao, dahil kakulangan nga, yung legal knowledge can be dangerous. Yun yung mga ibang pinapakita ng mga tao. They become all experts, they all become anointed, opinionated individuals, no? And also because of out of extreme fear, hindi na nakakaisip ng tama, hindi na alam kung ano yung logic, ano yung, diba? Kaya tayo, science-based tayo.
Duque is confident President Duterte will continue to stand by him, adding that the president has his full trust and confidence. Outgoing Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon earlier advised Duque to hire a good lawyer, alleging he had a hand in what he says was the mishandling of pandemic funds. Meanwhile, Duque admits it would be difficult to reach the government's target of vaccinating 77 million individuals against COVID-19 before President Duterte steps down. The government would need to inoculate 3 million more people with a little over 3 weeks to go. Currently, the number of fully vaccinated individuals is at 69.5 million.
Mahirapan given the numbers now, no? Para mga 300,000 lang a week for the primary dose. And for the second dose, even lower weekly vaccination rate, no? So, kailangan na lang ipagpatuloy talaga ng susunod na administrasyon to further ramp it up and achieve 100% of the 77 million target.
Duque is also asking the incoming administration to institutionalize the COVID-19 alert level system amid some calls to do away with it.
If they want to expand the alert leveling system to 0, they can do that, but there has to be a clear basis, no? But this, I can tell you, ALS, the alert leveling system, is a very good practice. Hopefully, it will become a best practice that the next administration will continue. Rather than dumping it, no, or trashing it, they should institutionalize it.
Over 2 years of battling the pandemic, Duque says the virus has been somewhat contained, but he adds the public should still temper expectations. More developments in the Mandaluyong hit and run case. Authorities are now going after security guards of the subdivision where the SUV owner lives. Chrissy De Matulak reports.
Subdivision security guards are now facing a complaint after the police failed to speak with the owner of the SUV that ran over Christian Floralde. The Mandaluyong police slapped security personnel with obstruction of justice for not cooperating with their investigation.
Kung may ganoon tayong mga activities of police follow-up, ibig sabihin that is to serve justice for the victim. So kung tayo pinagbawal po, yun ang magiging sinasabi natin na obstruction of justice because the justice has not been served.
Authorities identified the owner of the white SUV as Jose San Vicente. According to their initial assessment, it's possible that the address used in the vehicle's registration was that of the owner's father.
Itong si Joel, ang pag-aalam namin, Joel San Vicente is the father of the owner of this vehicle. So, yung owner of the vehicle is Jose Antonio San Vicente. And the father is Joel San Vicente, who is, according to the security guards, siya po yung nakatira dito sa given address doon sa subdivision, si Joel San Vicente.
Jose San Vicente was expected to appear before the Intelligence and Investigation Division of LTO on Tuesday to explain his side of the incident, but he did not show up. The agency then issued a second and final show cause order for the SUV owner to appear on Friday afternoon. San Vicente's driver's license will be revoked should he fail to show up again. The Mandaluyong police have already filed complaints of frustrated murder and abandonment of one's own victim before a court on Monday. It is now up to the fiscal's office to invite San Vicente for questioning. Chrissy De Matulak, CNN Philippines.
More news ahead. Transport regulators are studying an appeal of jeepney drivers amid soaring fuel prices. While the Health Secretary says President Duterte is unlikely to sign the vape regulation bill into law. Details next on Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement, gama sa Davao para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement, ato ni Bay. SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement, gama sa Davao para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement, ato ni Bay. SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement, gama sa Davao para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement, ato ni Bay.
RPN DXKT 1071 sa dial sa inyong mga radyo.
This week, transport regulators say they are looking into the appeal of drivers amid soaring fuel prices. The LTFRB hit the red light on the petition of jeepneys for a provisional fare increase in March.
Rest assured po natin mga operators po natin na tinitingnan ng maigi ng board po natin yung mga nangyayari on the ground. The board is seriously considering all sides po, no, the effect doon sa drivers and the operators on the one hand, and then doon sa mga commuters naman, kasi we have to have a balancing of interest also.
The first tranche of the 6,500 peso aid for drivers is on track for completion this week after delays caused by fuel card issues and the election season. The LTFRB says the second batch may begin by end June or next month. Transport groups, however, are renewing calls to suspend the fuel excise tax. One of them, Manibela, slams the government for its fuel subsidy program, which it says is not enough to cushion the impact of the crisis.
Hindi naman namin hinihingi 100% na pansamantalang tigil nila. Kahit 50% doon sa excise tax, lahat magbebenepisyo po itong nasa transport sector, siguro po pag-aralan nilang mabuti.
May mga tumigil pero alternate po yung pagbiyahe. Kung halimbawa may 20 unit doon sa isang ruta, 10 ngayong araw, 10 naman yung susunod na araw para po may kitain. Pagka may dumaang libre sa kay bababa, doon po sila lilipat. So pinapatay po yung aming hanap buhay.
Finance Chief Designate Benjamin Jokno earlier said the incoming administration is not keen on suspending fuel excise taxes, but lawmakers are finding ways to support transportation workers. Senator Risa Ontiveros says she wants to expand the service contracting program to include more drivers and operators, while Senator Win Gatchalian urges the government to look for other oil sources instead of relying on imports. Good news for job seekers. The Department of Labor is marking Independence Day this weekend with a job fair. More than 100,000 local and overseas jobs are up for grabs, whether in manufacturing, IT and BPO, logistics, and construction, among others. The job fair will be held in 23 sites across the country. The Trade and Industry Department is also holding a virtual career fair in partnership with Job Street this June 13 to 17. For more details, catch Job Street Philippines Country Manager Philip Quioca on the final word tonight at 9 here on CNN Philippines. Residents are slowly picking up the pieces after Mount Bulusan left several communities covered in ash in Sorsogon. Even with a go signal from authorities, Stanley Gahete reports some evacuees are still afraid to go back home.
After 3 days of restlessness, Mount Bulusan appears to have calmed down. More than 100 families at an evacuation center have been allowed by authorities to return to their houses.
Sinisiguro natin ngayon na systematic yung kanilang pagpapauwi ng ating evacuees. Unang-una para sa kanilang seguridad at yung kanilang safety din pauwi.
The local DRRM says they initially worried about the health and safety of vulnerable residents, but the situation has improved.
Nung gabi po, medyo tumaas po tayo kasi gabi maraming nagrereklamo na hindi daw talaga nila kaya ang amoy ng asupre. Kaya kinuha natin sila nung gabing iyon.
Many, however, are still afraid to return home with their communities still covered in ash.
Ang bahay namin, pag nakita ko, napapaiyak ako. Kasi yung kusina namin, puno ng amo. Yung mga halaman ko, sir, ganyan ako yung mga dahon ng saging. Nakakaawa, sir.
Para sa akin talaga ayaw ko pa. Kaya lang wala tayong magagawa. Yun ang dineclare nila na uuwi na kami. Kasi nga iniisip ko ang asawa ko kasi mabaho pa talagang amo doon.
Meanwhile, the local social welfare department has provided returning residents 2 boxes of groceries per family.
Noong Monday po, nabigay na po kami ng food packs. And ngayon po, utos po ng aming regional director na magbibigay po kami para po before mag-decamp po sila, may magagamit po sila pagdating po nila sa area.
Despite some resistance, residents were transported by government vehicles to Puting Sapa, one of the most affected communities. The local DSWD has started a food for work program to the unemployed, assigning them to help clean the ashfall.
Mahirap po maglinis kasi masyado makapal yung alikabok. Masaya po kasi makakatanggap ako ng grocery at saka bigas siguro yun.
Para malinis po yung barangay, nagpapaano po kami na makapagtrabaho sila. At the same time, bibigyan sila ng pagkain. Para pag uwi nila galing ng evacuation center, malinis na po yung barangay.
Residents are hoping that Mount Bulusan won't erupt again anytime soon.
Maraming salamat po sa inyo. Kung hindi kayo, wala pa kami dito. Salamat po.
Stanley Gahete, CNN Philippines.
A number of medical groups call on President Duterte to veto a measure lowering the age of access to e-cigarettes and vaping products from 21 to 18 years old. They warn this could lead to more Filipinos getting addicted to smoking. The health chief says it is unlikely the president will sign the bill into law, citing the harmful effects of e-cigarettes.
Unang-una, bago pa lang yung technology na yan, no? Yung electronic nicotine device. There has also been a 2-fold increase in future tobacco use. So yung sinasabi na parang mabibreach is out of the tobacco, cigarette, traditional smoking, hindi totoo yun.
Many studies have shown that e-cigarette is a gateway to cigarette use in a year's time, as well as a gateway for alcohol and substance abuse. Once a young teen is addicted to nicotine, quitting is very hard. Safer is not equivalent to safe. It is not harm reduction, but a dangerous nicotine trap.
Congress ratified the vape regulation bill in January, but health advocates say it has yet to reach the president. Another threat for residents of the province of Batangas, local officials fear a possible rise of diseases from the high arsenic levels in their water. They're calling on the national government to help address the problem. George Cahiles with part 2 of his report.
Water coming from this pumping station in Barangay Sinisian East in Lemery, Batangas was found to contain dangerous levels of arsenic. The pumping station is being operated by a small barangay-based waterworks system.
Pagka kami nagpagawa po uli ng panibago pong source ng tubig po, siyempre po hindi po namin kaya po yun sa aming, katulad po ng aming asosasyon pong ito, hindi po namin kakayanin.
The high arsenic level was first observed after the explosion of Taal volcano in January 2020. With their meager resources, the waterworks system operator couldn't afford facilities that may help in lowering the arsenic level in water. It could not even pay for the monthly testing for arsenic and other dangerous chemicals.
Kami po ay nananawagan po sa ating pong national government na kung kami po ay matutulungan, yung katulad po namin ng barangay na kasali po kami sa positive na arsenic, ang may bigyan po kami ng isa pong magandang pagdaloy ng tubig.
A few meters away from the water pump is a house of Mena de la Luna. While she doesn't use tap water for drinking and cooking, she still volunteered to be tested for traces of arsenic in her body.
Ever since nga, hindi mo ako umiinom ng tubig na galing sa ang consumption ko lang ng tubig is pagdilig, palaba, ganun lang. Wala pa naman resulta kaya nga kami nag-iintay pa rin.
Prime Water services around 13,000 households in Lemery, Batangas. In a statement, the company assures customers that the arsenic level in their water is lower than the limit and is safe for drinking and cooking. In Taal, Batangas, the local government announced that all samples from the Taal Water District, which supplies water to majority of residents, passed the test.
Merong 13 barangays na meron silang water system na sarili. Tinetest din natin yan. Kung talaga magkakaroon ng matindihang problema, mapoprocure kami or hingi kami ng aid from the national government para magkaroon tayo ng tinatawag na, kasi naalis siya sa reverse osmosis.
The local government says it is still closely monitoring the situation to ensure that their residents are getting clean and safe water. George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
In other news, the Justice Department is set to release a resolution on the Pastillas bribery scheme involving immigration personnel. Justice Secretary Bernardo Guevara says they conducted a parallel administrative investigation. Guevara, however, clarifies the respondents are different from the NBI's list submitted to the Ombudsman. The Ombudsman held at least 40 individuals criminally liable for allegedly allowing the entry of Chinese nationals into the country without going through the regular and stringent screening process. Guevara said the administrative case will determine the disciplinary action against the immigration officers. Former Deputy Commissioner Mark Red Marinas, the alleged mastermind of the scam, resigned in 2019. Still ahead, the sequel to Oscar-winning film Joker is officially on the way. Plus, a BTS member makes history joining the lineup of a famous music festival. That and more when we return on Newsnight.
SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao, para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay. SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement, gama sa Davao para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement, ato ni Bay. SMC San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement, gama sa Davao para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement, ato ni Bay.
RPN DXKT 1071 sa dial sa inyong mga radyo.
You're watching CNN Philippines. The origin story of Batman's most popular nemesis is getting a part 2, with the director of Joker confirming a sequel. Todd Phillips posted a photo with the movie's working title, Joker Folie à Deux, which means Joker Madness for two in French. Actor Joaquin Phoenix is set to reprise the lead role as he was seen reading the script in Phillips' post. Heads up, BTS Army's J-Hope, rapper of the Grammy-nominated group, is performing at one of the biggest music events in the U.S., Lollapalooza. This makes him the first South Korean artist to headline a main stage at a major music festival in the country. J-Hope's set is scheduled on July 31st, the last day of the Chicago event. There is more yet to come for BTS fans. The K-pop sensation released a preview of the music video for the lead single off their next album, Proof. Here's a look at the teaser for yet to come, The Most Beautiful Moment, dropping this Friday, June 10th.
Wow.